Hello and welcome back to the channel once again. My name is Andy and as always, being Sunday, race day Sunday, we are back with another race review, this time from the Monaco Grand Prix that was run this afternoon around the Principality in Monte Carlo. Before we get cracking, as always though, I do wish to thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already done so, do hit the subscribe button if you want to see more from myself, hear more of my race reviews as well, and other content. Do hit the notification bell icon as well so you don't miss out on anything, and also hit the like button and comment below. What did you enjoy about the race more than anything? I'm recording this just around about 5:45 just now, and if you hear me getting a little bit in between, I'm currently watching the Indy 500 at the same time, so if you hear me stop in the middle, I have noticed something in front of me. But on to the race weekend itself. Obviously Monaco, the Jewel in the Crown, one of the three parts of the Triple Crown, so one part of the three legs of the Triple Crown. Obviously, as I just mentioned, Indy, I'm watching that just now, that is one of the other ones. I did put a video up earlier on today about Indy, the Indianapolis 500 as well, a bit of history behind that, so click the card up the top right hand corner to go and watch that one as well. And the other one, of course, is Le Mans. But going back to practice, obviously first day of practice was on Thursday, the second day on the Saturday. It's the only race weekend that has that format. And the main stories of practice were Red Bull. The first one, obviously, Danny Ricciardo dominating practice, topped FP1, FP2 and FP3 in that Red Bull, so brilliant from the Aussie. But the other story of practice was in FP3, and it was the other Red Bull, Max Verstappen, crashing out in an identical near mirror image of the crash he did in the Toro Rosso back in, I think it was 2015, if I remember rightly, or 2016. One of the two. I think it's 15, because I'm sure he got it to Red Bull in 16. And that put him out of Q1. They also done a gearbox change due to some of the damage as well. So he started last on the grid, which was not what you wanted to do, and certainly not what you want to do around Monaco. While his teammate Ricciardo continued where he left off in practice, topped Q1, topped Q2, and took pole and top in Q3 with a lap record 3 times clear of anyone else into the 1:10 10s. The boy was just on fire. He really was, just absolutely burning the track up. Vettel was alongside him in the second spot, Hamilton in third, Raikkonen fourth, Bottas fifth, Ocon the best of the rest as Force India seemed to be picking up again, and that is going to make that midfield battle even more enticing as the weeks and the races go on. Into the race itself, and the first thing that happened, well, it was a horrible weekend for Williams, and it was started on race day times anyway, with Sergei Sirotkin getting a 10-second penalty because his tyres were not fitted at the 3-minute warning mark. So for safety reasons, the tyres must be fitted before 3 minutes, so that the mechanics can leave the grid in good time. Going back over years past where mechanics were on the grid right up to the point of leaving and sometimes even starting in the really old days, they obviously, some got hurt and even killed, which is not what we want. So he got a 10-second penalty for that. He also got another penalty for him working on the car during the penalty stop as well, but it was just cooling the car with a fan. They never touched it, so that was fine. And Lance Stroll, I'll just cover Williams in a nutshell: 2 punctures and a broken front wing, 4 pit stops. So weekend to forget for Williams. Car's handling like an absolute pig by the looks of it, so definitely one for them to forget. When it came to the start itself, everybody got away well, maintained grid position mainly. Ricciardo, Vettel, Hamilton, Raikkonen and Bottas, your top 5, Ocon in 6. Not much going on behind. And as you'd expect from Monaco, it was just a bit of a train behind. The only one really making major moves was, of course, Verstappen. He made a pass on Ericsson into Mirabeau. He made another pass on, I think it was Stroll, before he got his puncture down to the Nouvelle chicane. So he was on the move a little bit, obviously having a much faster car. But most of them not really doing much. Ricciardo maintained the gap, wasn't really pushing too much either. But it didn't take long for things to start almost going wrong for the Red Bulls. So Ricciardo ended up with a problem, down on power to the point that he couldn't change above 6th gear. Might not sound like much, but you think that these cars have 8 gears. He was giving away down the front straight about 15-20 miles an hour. He's lucky it happened at Monaco, because anywhere else he would have got absolutely swallowed. Whereas Monaco, it's not about the speed. So that wasn't too bad for him, thankfully. He was able to maintain it and manage it well, so that wasn't too bad at all. And we'll come back, but it was Mercedes and Hamilton who tried to make the move, so to speak. They pitted Hamilton, who was the first to pit, from 3rd place, changed from the pink ultra soft tyres onto the pink hyper soft tyres onto the purple ultra softs. Got them mixed up there. Trying to make a move, but it didn't work out the way they were hoping, because everyone else sort of followed suit in the next couple of laps. Everybody moved to the ultra soft except for Bottas, who went to the red super soft, so the hardest tyres available for this weekend's race. And when they all came back out, they were all struggling with graining and everything going on. So again, not much going on. And eventually, by the time we got to about mid-race, lap 50, something like that, there was 8 seconds between 1st and 5th. And it was just a train. Hamilton was able to close up and falling back. Ricciardo had the power problem, but his tyres were in great condition. Vettel had a graining front left, so it was just up and down all over the shot. Nobody really able to do very much at all. And not much happened in the race. I mean, there was no one retired by this point. Mid-race, there was still everybody running. Okay, the Williams were about a lap down, especially Sorokin, but everyone was still running, which is rare at Monaco. You usually see at least somebody out by early doors, so that was an interesting one as well. Hülkenberg, who had not made Q3, was running a long first stint on the purple ultra softs. And by lap 50, he was actually lapping faster in the top 5. That shows you how much they were struggling with the graining up the front. Verstappen pitted in lap 48. He went from ultras to hypersoft, and he rejoined in 11th. He had made the top 10 by this point. Hülkenberg was the last to pit, lap 51. He pitted from 6th, and he rejoined in 10th on hypersofts, and he made a very good race of it after his qualifying disappointment. Lap 53 was when we seen the first DNF, and that was Fernando Alonso having his first DNF of the season. Gearbox problem, box full of neutrals, pulled up at Saint Devote. There was a thought there might be a safety car or a virtual safety car, but nope. Able to get the clutch pulled in, and the mechanics wheeled it off very quickly indeed, so well done to them. Very efficient as always in Monaco. Carlos Sainz was then playing the team game with Hülkenberg, so he was ahead in 8th. Hülkenberg 9th and Verstappen was in 10th after all the pit stops had been done, and Sainz managed to let Hülkenberg pass going up the hill towards Casino Square in Masseny, but kept Verstappen behind him, so it was good work there from the Spaniard to allow his teammate to get away from the fast charging Red Bull. Max got past a few laps later, did take a jump across the chicane a little bit, but he did make it around the outside as Sainz was really struggling on those old tyres. Towards the end of the race as well, we even had Ocon, and then obviously Gasly was 7th. He'd done a good race as well, to be honest, Gasly. And then Hülkenberg and Verstappen, they were all catching up to Bottas by the end of the race. There wasn't a big gap between them all come the end of the race, but again, as is normal, being Monaco, not much places for passing. There was a virtual safety car though for a short period of time, and it came about 5 laps towards the end, and it was Monaco's own Charles Leclerc that caused it. Poor Leclerc. He was having a lovely race, good race there. He was in 12th at the time, behind Brendan Hartley, who had a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. They still have added to his race time. Came out the tunnel and Leclerc hit the brakes. Puff of smoke. Brakes failure. Right into the back of the New Zealander, and both of them were out of the race pretty much there and then. Damage on the track and debris on the track meant virtual safety car, where they quickly cleared it. No one pitted though, so it happened after they had all gone by the pit stops. The only one that came in was Van Dorn, who came out between Ricciardo and Vettel, so that was frustrating for Vettel, but it didn't matter because Ricciardo disappeared after the virtual safety car ended, and Vettel couldn't get the tyres up to temperature, and it finished that way. Not very much to this race this week. It was a domination from the honey badger himself, Daniel Ricciardo, as he took finally redemption for 2016 when the team threw it away with that pit stop strategy a few years ago. Obviously, he's driver of the race for managing that problem and leading all the time as well. So it was absolutely fantastic from Ricciardo. Got to give shout out though for Esteban Ocon, 6th in the Force India, Hulkenberg taking 8th with a long first stint as well, and Verstappen going from last up to 9th as well. So really good work from them. But it was Ricciardo, Vettel and Hamilton, 1, 2, 3 on the grid, 1, 2, 3 on the podium as well. Usual sort of stuff as you'd expect from Monaco. Not a lot of passing at all. Bottas came home in 5th, Raikkonen in 4th, Bottas 5th, Ocon as I just mentioned 6th. Pierre Gasly, a good race from him as well in the Toro Rosso in 7th, ran a long first stint to give him track position. Hulkenberg took 8th, Verstappen 9th, Sainz did hold on to round out the top 10, Ericsson 11th, Perez in 12th, Magnussen in 13th. Poor weekend for Haase, really struggled. Van Dorn would take 14th, Grosjean 15th, Sirotkin came home 16th a lap down, Stroll in 17th, and obviously Leclerc, Hartley and Alonso were DNFs. So top 3 in the championship now is Hamilton still leads, but his points has been shortened. It's now only it's not as he was 17 points clear at the start of the race, so he's not as far clear now. I've not got it in front of me because I've been trying to do this quite quickly. But Vettel has closed the gap up by 5 points, so it'll be about 11 points now between the two of them, I believe. And Ricciardo has jumped from 5th to 3rd in the championship now, so he is right up there now. His 2nd win of the year. Constructors has remained relatively the same as well. Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull still 1, 2, 3, and Renault with a good performance will now pull away a little bit from McLaren today after no points for the first time this year for McLaren Renault. But that is a very short roundup for this week's race because there wasn't a huge amount to it, to be honest, although it was a very exciting tactical kind of battle, but on track, not a lot to discuss, not a lot to go on, and it was more about the tactical and management side of things from today's race. As usual, if you do enjoy what you've listened to here, do subscribe so you can get the next review, which is in 2 weeks' time, which is a Canadian Grand Prix. That is on for UK time. It's around about evening time, 6 o'clock or so. So that will make it quite a late one for me to try and get this out on a Sunday evening, but I'll try my best. And obviously still got all my classic stuff coming up. We move on to the old Lotus cars this Thursday using Project Cars 2 for the classic series, going back to the Lotus 25 that took Jim Clark to championship glory back in '63. So if you really like your history, you're going to want to stick around for that as we move on to the next parts of the classic series. But hit the like button, comment below and subscribe as always. But as I always say, till next time, until the next video, I'll see you again soon. Ta-ra.